Yeah.
It's starting right now.
Recording results.
Welcome to the September 30th, 2020 edition of the governance discussion. Let's kick things off, start with kind of some governance 1.0 things. So we talked last week and in the forums a lot about the worker compensation guidelines. I think we landed on a pretty good compromise on a couple different areas. There is now a proposal for that right now that you can vote on. And then hopefully that'll pass and that'll go into effect and that'll provide some clarity for kind of how to move forward for new workers and new contributors. I do think there's still obviously a lot of questions on the actual logistics of the vesting component, whether it's gas efficiencies or kind of how non-technical workers can do. But hopefully this can provide some structure for that going forward. So I don't know if anyone had any thoughts or comments on the guidelines or the proposal in the queue. Cool. All right, well, let's keep moving. I mentioned this in passing. You know, we've come up, there's been some kind of discussions over the last month or so on kind of the state of rep and how people kind of are distributing it. Obviously, we had the community rep boost initiative that Sky led, which was, I think, a really great way of bringing some community members that were already in the fold kind of along and kind of tagging on to that. I think it's important for us to have some more transparency and just kind of understanding of what we're doing kind of on the rep front. I came up with, share my screen here. So I think it's a good idea maybe to kind of start a rep report or some type of like kind of quarterly look at the state of rep. I think this is something I'm kind of trying to work on, so I'd be interested to get some feedback on it from you guys. Let me share screen. Okay. All right, does that work?
Yep.
All right. Cool. So just think about what the current rep distribution. I think it's interesting. I look on Alchemy, and you actually notice, like, if you're looking a lot, you can see how just the number of rep changes. Obviously, this is like people kind of coming, new rep being distributed, but there's also something like if you're voting, some of the things are staked. So I think if we can kind of just understand the current rep distribution, and then I think it's key to look at rep inflation since the genesis, which I think would probably be around like 36%, 35%, and then 2 since the DXD fundraiser. And then I think looking at kind of projections going forward, like if that is the inflation rate, like what does that mean for say the next year or two in terms of rep issuance? And then I think lastly, like rep award logistics. And I know this is one that I've been kind of not fooling around with, but just kind of noticing as I'm becoming more familiar with Alchemy, that obviously like when you have a successful proposal, you actually get a rep reward for that. And there's a whole kind of like rep staking thing if you vote on a proposal. So I think just kind of understanding those and kind of clearly laying out them would be good. The how I think is actually more important, and maybe someone can provide some insight on this. But I mean, I've looked at kind of rep distribution and I put some document together. Maybe it was like a month or so ago, and I basically just like downloaded from the Alchemy UI. And so I'm wondering if we could obviously like get a rep snapshot at different dates would be one way. The other way is obviously just looking at like proposal by rep rewards. So maybe it'd be good if we could kind of work with someone to kind of do that. And then like the future rep goals, what are we kind of aspirations? Is there different things that we want to strive to? Maybe it's a little too early to kind of put that into a document like this, but just kind of thinking about that. And then the same thing, community rep boost and the ideas of permissionless rep. These are kind of things that we want to promote, but what is the kind of structure and processes to make those more systematic. So thoughts, comments, things we could kind of look at more, or suggestions on how to kind of pull some of this data?
Yeah, so for pulling this data, like even I can help you with the graph to like pull all this data of basically, you know, address and reputation. And, you know, as you were talking, I thought this could be like a great bounty to create, you know, a live dashboard that updates. Basically, it reads the data every day, sees the reputation changes. You can even have a line that kind of shows what's the goal, and if we're following that. I think this could be like an interesting bounty, and I'm happy to, I don't know, discuss this and spec this out like a little more. But yeah, to have basically a live graph of the reputation holders, the reputation distribution goals, etc. on decent visualization.
I had some thoughts which I shared in one of the Keybase chats, I think it was, is we've been actually not paying attention and maybe not doing this correctly, because, and Nylon, I think you helped clarify some of the things. There are certain actions in the system where if you do those actions, you get a certain amount of set rep. I think it's like if you could do a proposal, you get 500 rep, but it shows up as 0.03 rep, right? Or 0.03% rep. So because there are certain actions that are set to numbers, that creates a standard, a precedent for like what rep goes towards an action. And so if you get 0.03% rep to just put in a proposal, that all of a sudden makes other things like doing a bounty that takes a week to earn 0.1% rep, like they don't align with each other. And then working for a month full time, you get 0.16% rep. So because some actions are set to amounts of rep, that already creates a standard. So everything should be based off of those standards. Otherwise, you need to change those standards. Otherwise, the numbers that we talk about with rep and like what our targeted inflation will be and all that kind of stuff, like it's all going to get thrown off because someone at some point just like set some standards, and because some standards are set, the rest of the standards have to be based and like off of those standards. And so I think it's getting very difficult.
And one problem that arises that I was just kind of realizing recently is if like I'm doing a lot of proposals, not just for my own worker proposals, but maybe because I'm facilitating the audits and, you know, helping some other people out with whatnot. I'm accumulating a lot of rep just from making the proposals, even though I'm over the max rep, right? So really I shouldn't be getting anything, but I am because of these. And what this is, it's called the proposer reward.
Yeah.
And for the contribution reward scheme, which is the most common kind of proposals that get made, it's 500 reputation. So it's a fixed number. So that percentage will go down over time. That's a good thing. But maybe, Nylon, can we actually change that via proposal? I think we might be able to.
Yeah. You can.
Right?
So technically you can't. Yeah, I don't think you can update it, but you can essentially create a new voting power, funding and voting power scheme with different parameters. And you know that could be set to 0, for example, like the proposer reward.
Yeah, like if we have like a million, what is it, 1.2 million rep, like that some of those numbers imply that if a small action like a proposal is 0.03% rep, it implies that like the system is kind of built to like quickly get to like 5 million rep. Like we've been trying to keep rep like close to 1 million and expanding it smartly, but like those kinds of implied parameters to me imply that like we should like it should very quickly get to 5 million rep, like, and then that'd be like rep everywhere, like give out rep.
Yeah, and I think it could affect like, and I don't know if these are like community standards, but even just think about worker proposals, right? The fact that we do those over 2 months, and split out the DXD, like just having the number of proposals is a way of kind of, and even like just from me, I guess I submitted the proposal for the worker compensation guidelines. Like, I think it actually could matter long term who the proposer is, that has effect maybe on like how people would boost or unboost things. So I don't know if we should like, that is, I don't know, just what are the community standards on these things into like when we want something to go to the proposal stage. But anyway, I think this is like a good thing. The reason, and Nylon, it's good to hear. One of the reasons I wanted to do this report and thinking about this is because I'm also thinking about like kind of the reputation-based governance talk that we've been mentioning. I think this would be a very good way to use some of this data for that. And I also think we can kind of hit on some of these other issues at the bottom.
I was taking a look at the plugin manager on Alchemy, and seems that you have the option to edit the current scheme, where the scheme configuration. So the way it works, every scheme has a configuration, and from this configuration you get a configuration ID. Let's call it the configuration hash. So seems like we can update it, Nylon. We will just need to assign the new configuration hash to the to this scheme, to the contribution reward scheme.
Like the process here would probably be to register a new funding and voting power, and then unregister the old one.
But you have the edit option.
I have the what option? Yeah, I don't think this is live in your ARC version. Like, I don't think you can actually use it. I'll double check, but yeah, I don't think you can actually use it.
Okay, awesome. Well, that shouldn't be hard to do, to deploy a new contribution reward scheme with the same configuration. Also, since we are going to do this, maybe this is an opportunity to change another parameters. What about making the contribution rewards a bit faster? Like, instead of waiting a week, why don't we wait 5 days, for example, right? Or if the proposal is boosted, wait even less.
Yeah, another option here, like if we're opening this box, is to also have multiple contribution rewards, and we can have, one that's kind of like for faster things, maybe only for signal proposals, and then another one for slower things, which is like funding proposals.
But can you limit that to the amount of Ether tokens that you can send?
I don't think so. Like, this is kind of like a social consensus. So we know that, let's say one of the contribution reward is only for, let's say, worker proposals, and one of the contribution reward is only for, I don't know, something else.
Yeah, we have to be super careful here, because if a contribution reward is quicker than the time that you take to either remove or one scheme, you can create a vector attack there. Right? Because if I have a very quick contribution reward, I just need to boost and I know to execute in a day. I only give a day to the DXgov to revert that change.
Yeah. I mean, at any rate, I was thinking, if right now I think it's, the way I look at these things is what's the minimum time from proposal to passing. And I think right now it's 7 days. So you could have 5 days for worker proposals, 7 days for other proposals, or something of that sort. But I guess this is like a box that we need to open.
Yeah, but I think that having 4 schemes for everything will be kind of overkill.
Yeah.
Whether you have a multi-call, for example, something like that, it will be. I mean, we actually want less schemes. We have 7, and the path forward, I think we all agree that we have way many schemes. Where, for example, all the ENS schemes can be put together in a simple multi-call, that is related to ENS. We can have a multi-core that is just for sending tokens and Ether, and we can have a multi-core that is just for DeFi investment there. We have one for plugin manager. You can do all from 4 schemes. But yeah, I'm just brainstorming, but we should focus on reach some configuration of that style, I think.
Yeah, so I think the first step here would be deciding a new funding and voting power with, let's say, different proposer reward. I think that it's nice that someone will get even, a small amount of reputation, so they are, as soon as they make a proposal, they are a part of the DAO. And then, yeah, for the rest of the parameters we can discuss.
Yeah, just to I think kind of the adjusting the schemes would be helpful and kind of fall into the governance 1.x bucket of like, okay, we can kind of make some small changes to the existing one. I do think it's important that we just to kind of figure out how to move forward on this. I do think we need to start having kind of reports, discussions, enhancements, and I think that's where this configuration scheme discussion is coming from. So I'll kind of work on putting together some of this information, and Nylon, would be great if we could work on pulling some of this from the graph, and then we'll present initial findings on next week's governance discussion call, and then hopefully we can figure out a little bit more about what type of scheme changes we want to make once we kind of understand the lay of the land.
Yeah, I want to propose something here because this is something that I had in my mind, but this is, I think, maybe a good time to actually put it up. I think we should create some like 3 or 4 people working groups. So this is like a good example. These 3 or 4 people will be tasked to research what the new parameters should be, offer a couple of options to everyone, and then yeah, the final point will be to ratify it in the DAO. But I think like this is something that's kind of missing, like accountability of a small group of people. But I mean, we can discuss this at another point, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. I 100% agree.
Yeah, the way I see this, you can even have that specific topic. You can even have someone who's accountable, who's sort of the leader for that, and he's leading, he's deciding on the structure of the team and what needs to be done. And then, kind of like the way I see it, it's kind of if you have a flat organization that someone rises to the top or picks a group of people with him to do a certain task, and then essentially comes back to the flat organization. But I do think like accountability is required here, and it's been kind of working this way. But I think to actually structure it would help a lot to the general DXDAO.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of another example of things I think we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
Cool. I did just want to check quickly, Ingomar, to see if there were any updates on the Aluna social gas proposal.
I sent it to them over email. They replied back. I can read it or summarize it. Just give me a second. They wanted more information about what I mean when I say the DXDAO community. So I guess they just want like numbers, how big we are, how many people in our socials there are, how many people like they can expect from us to like help, and I guess how much work would that entail. Let's see, they wanted some data on Omen, some information on Rails. How would I see copy trading working with DXswap? So my thinking was like, if you look at the Aluna social platform, it's kind of like there's a feed, like any kind of Twitter feed, where you see this such and such guy leaderboard guy did a trade on Binance. He did a leverage trade of X BTC or whatever. And I think that since liquidity is moving over to DeFi, like having it compatible with DeFi products would just be a smart move. So adding DXswap would be a great thing for their community, so that like they can interact and see what each other are doing on DXswap. They wanted to know how I came up with 2% of the supply. They sold about 400,000 ALN tokens pre-sale, and they're saying 2% of their supply would be about $160,000 worth. And they're just asking how I came to that number, and they think it's high. I don't think it's high. We were given like obviously a percentage of the DMM tokens, and we haven't touched them since. But that's like 10 times the dollar equivalent of 2% of ALN tokens. And like if we're doing an advisory position for them, like we're not like one guy on their website. We're hundreds of ETH addresses. We're dozens of active people. We're a DAO. You know, we're pretty much on the edge of DeFi and decentralized governments. So they're getting a bunch of people for an advisory like compensation, I guess. So 2% is probably like not enough, I could argue. They want to know about overhead cost and like how I imagine tokens being released. So I laid a whole bunch of shit on you guys. But I think we should discuss like what type of commitment we can come up with, ensuring that that's properly compensated. Even for the guys on the ground, or one guy on the ground, or multiple guys on the ground. But I think it could be a great long-term engagement for both of us, so long as like we're clear on expectations. Also, I can just forward you guys the email if you want to DM me or something.
Cool, Matt. Would you like to speak, or is that? Cool. I mean, I think there's obviously been some kind of back and forth with Luna for the last couple of weeks, almost months. So I think there's, it's a relationship that's forming. So it'd be good to find a way to work with them that fits for both.
Yeah, I mean, I think like in terms of cross-platform integration, we can evaluate that at the technical level and kind of see what can fit into the technical roadmaps. Joint marketing campaign stuff, Ingemar, I trust you with that and like what makes sense there. I think I hesitate the most around like governance advisory, like what real capacity does DXDAO have to kind of like get their hands dirty with the Luna governance, right? And I think, I think we need to ask ourselves what is actually scalable about governance as a service, because I think you're basically just like putting people on different projects to like keep track of it may not be that easy,
Yeah, totally. We have, I think, a core of us that are like around 12 to 15 people who are kind of regularly active. But like given a person, if a person had the responsibility of just being present around their Discord and just reporting on what they're doing, like given that they get compensated like whatever they would want, like do we have someone who we could delegate that sort of time for that? I don't think it would be like a part-time job really. I think it would be like maybe just showing up on their Discord.
So basically delegating a responsibility as like the DXDAO ambassador, so to speak, to these other communities, right?
that's how I see it. They they have a Discord that they're kind of like propping up for this. It's really not a crazy active one. It's barely started. And I think monitoring that and just checking out their products here and there and being available for communication would be like a solid minimum viable commitment.
But I mean, I think if we're doing a product, like I want it to be a good product or service. And so like, I think, just providing, I think we can provide like Discord and that, but I think I guess I'm trying to think of what's scalable in this. And I don't think people are very scalable. And so I'm trying to think of like how we build a system or process that could be more scalable.
I just want to say the way I see this like formulating in actual DXDAO members voting in a Luna social governance is when you have an edge case or a contentious issue that not a lot of people agree on, and then kind of like it escalates and then more people participate in governance. Like, I mean, this is the highest percentage of participation rates is when you have a subject or a proposal that people don't fully agree on. So I think this is kind of like the case 302 of Omen. So I think like DXDAO will actually like participate in governance when there's a big case like that where not everybody agrees, because then most times we won't need to participate in the governance, I think.
Yeah, this relates to the first big example, which is DMG, which I had a plan and still have a plan to and I've talked to Corey and I've been trying to think about how DXDAO can get more into it in a scalable way so that it shows value to DMG community so that other people see that and then they're like, wow, it makes sense for DXDAO to be involved in our governance. But it's been moving kind of slow in general. They haven't done that much, and hasn't been anything contentious. So there's not a lot that DXDAO can actually do unless DXDAO members start to just go join and do stuff in their community, right? So
right.
We need an example, a good example, and maybe a Luna is that example where we actually show that DXDAO getting involved adds value, but we don't even know if that's true. It's never been done, right? You
Right.
see a little bit in Compound where you see entities like Gauntlet getting involved in comp governance, and so that because of the delegation and stuff, there are these entities that are deep in the space, but you don't see that with another DAO doing that into another DAO. I don't think we've seen that, right?
Yeah, I think the case 302 is interesting. Is kind of is an interesting example, and I think kind of shows that it's in these times of almost crisis where DXDAO could be of value. This is I think this is something we'll kind of continue to iterate on, and so hopefully we'll kind of hear more about that. But I want to move on so we can keep going, and I want to switch to the, I guess, DXDAO. Is that what we will call the colony or the DXDAO base that lives on XDAI? But it looks like it is, to quote Nylon, the last steps.
Yeah.
So do you want to kind of set us up for what the kind of last steps are, that we can kind of pivot the conversation to what we want to do with DMXDAO?
Yeah, so I guess the first question would be what to call it, and I mean, DXDAO is a mouthful. It's very difficult to basically do. To Ingamar's question, so 12 people mapped the reputation, which is I don't know, not much. But yeah, that's the state right now. At any rate, anyone who hasn't mapped the reputation could map it after the DAO is deployed. All they need to do is use the same contract on mainnet and then link that transaction onto their proposal request on XDAI. All right, let's go, Matteo. I wanna deploy the DAO on Monday. Yeah, I guess maybe the first we can actually run a competition to decide how do we call the XDAI DAO, and that could be like the first thing that happens. So I don't know if people are looking at. Maybe I'll just share my screen for a second. Are there any questions so far? No? Let me share my screen. Where is the share your screen? Oh, here.
Next to raise your hand.
Yeah. Yeah, is it working?
Yep. It's good.
Yeah, so the way I see this is that it will be an MVP for the XDAI DAO. We can start with a few different things, and these are kind of the things that I thought of that we could start with, and they're fairly easy. So first of all, any XDAI deployment for I don't know, Omen or any of those Omen Mesa, or I don't know, any other products that might be deployed. And then possibly also curating the open markets, but that's later. Another thing is kind of like faster, cheaper, and less secure DAO that holds funds for immediate activities. So it's either pay for bounties, competitions, and any ad hoc payments. This could be also incorporated with the budgeting that has been planned. And also wrote here a bit about like a few competitions that we can do for the DXgov marketing. Another thing is just all the signaling proposals and these type of things that we're doing, like I don't know, ratification of manifesto and stuff like that. These can all be done on XDAI DAO and then aggregated on a monthly basis. And then I don't know, for the second iteration, I think that this could actually serve as like an HR DAO. If we talked about people receiving money in DAI, then this DAO could be funded for worker proposals, and people could request their worker proposals directly from XDAI. It will cost less, it will be nicer, and they will receive it in a stable coin and not exposed to ETH. So that's that. Any thoughts about this?
Yeah, and in general, like the DXDAO on XDAI base will also serve as a very good test environment, because we actually use it in like real use cases, right, and with real money. So it could serve as like everything what we install on DXDAO on main will first go through some kind of like testing period on the XDAI base. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's very true. I think you can't really test things on mainnet because there's no incentive to steal money, or there's no actual money. So yeah, this is also like a good thing that XDAI will serve as that. Yeah, so I can add that. Anything else? Any other comments?
I think we've encountered if we're using it to like make external payments, there has been some friction, because let's say we want to use it for marketing and we want it to like pay DAI to weaken Ethereum, right?
Mm-hmm.
You basically, like, the people in that ecosystem that he's like, okay, I take Ether, I take DAI. He basically then has to say, I take XDAI. And most people aren't used to that. So like, even if we have that pot of money over there, the question is there a way to move it in a decentralized way back to mainnet to make payments? Or do all payments on XDAI have to happen in XDAI on XDAI to the third parties and stuff?
I mean, you could give them X ETH. There's actually like X ETH, I think, on XDAI, which is kind of backwards. But I'm trying to understand what's the issue. You're saying that if someone will get paid in XDAI, they wouldn't be able to move it back to mainnet.
Like, let's say we wanted to pay for the audit. We had 100,000 XDAI on this DAO, and we wanted to pay the guy who's doing the audit.
Yeah.
He wants $10,000, right? A lot of those people in the space, even if they're in crypto space, he might not accept XDAI or XE. He may want the money on mainnet. So are we making the assumption anything that's on XDAI, people like it stays on XDAI? It's paid out on XDAI. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine that like funding. Yeah, I think funding worker proposals, all of that will still happen on the main chain. I guess I imagine there's probably like a small amount of funds that will be sent through a trusted party, basically to XDAI, but that would be more of like experimentation, and I think like type of work, maybe the marketing campaigns or the bounty, or I guess like contests or games or something. That
I think XDAI becomes appealing when like the proposal costs actually are prohibitive on mainnet. Like if the bounty is like $100 or something.
Yeah, right. Like for example, like 0.3 ETH of value.
Yeah.
That person's gonna have to but that person's gonna have to accept it on XDAI. So you can't move it back.
Yeah, I mean it's very simple to move it back onto mainnet from XDAI. It's one transaction. There's a bridge. It's fairly trustless, I guess. Yeah, and like this is the like, let's say future worker proposals and all of that stuff. I feel like that's like way down the line. But generally in XDAI DAO, its shortcomings right now is that it cannot, or it can, but not in a trustless way, interact with mainnet contracts. So anything that's not interacting with a contract, like distributing funds, I think should slowly trickle down and just be done there, which is a lot of the DXDAO's actions, I think.
Yeah, and I think what you laid out is pretty comprehensive on the type of activities that we'd like to do. Yeah, and I think signaling proposals would probably be the biggest change for what's being done right now, because obviously governing the DXDAO products on XDAI, we're not doing that on mainnet. But I guess the one question I have is whether there should be any rep issuance on the XDAI DXDAO clone. I know there's some, like, how do we kind of realign them? But, like, is there a reason to have any new rep issued on XDAI?
That's an interesting point.
I mean, like one point is that you actually batch the XDAI rep distribution as like, let's imagine some dude is actually working on the XDAI base for 5 months, and each time he's actually getting rep per month. So then like every quarter, he actually just needs to do like one mainnet rep update, right? So that's like, it's just cost efficient.
Yeah, like, I mean, this is like not giving rep on XDAI. That's a limitation that we will have, right? I think that it opens up to a lot more possibilities if we do give rep on XDAI, and then, you know, figuring out kind of retroactively how to update both XDAI DAO and DXDAO.
Does this DAO have a gen equivalent, or is it gen? Is it XGen?
It's XGen. There's a gen bridge.
With the same amount of value, or would it be different parameters?
So I was actually thinking of, I remember back when I proposed it, like that all of the parameters would be like kind of cut in half, like all of them. So the time and also the reputation of everyone. But I realized that, you know, the reputation, I was thinking of doing like a quadratic formula on the reputation. So it's kind of like more equal. But I think this will just complicate things. And I think that for now, we should just start with like a carbon copy and then later figure out how to change or what to change in these parameters. And by the way, like you'll see on this XDAI DAO is like on this new version of Arc. So you'll just see that it's a lot easier to add schemes and edit schemes, and it's a lot better for experimentation.
Orlando, I think it's a good point by Skylo, because hypothetically we're going to see a higher proposal throughput on XDAI, and the gen staking that the DAO has to do on every proposal is like 250 gen right now. So we'd have to fund that DAO with something non-negligible, right?
Yeah, I guess. So I wrote here. Yeah, that's true. We need to transfer funds from DXDAO to DXDAO, so it's like 10K USD, and then a bit of gen as well for it to operate.
So like quick math, right? Like DXDAO has like 150,000 gen or something, and like 250 gen per proposal. If we wanted to support 100 proposals, that's 25,000 gen. So I don't know. Maybe it does make sense to lower that.
And why only 10K?
Oh, this is just like as a starting point. I mean, we could send more.
Yeah, I think like I don't know what others think, but I think we should increase it to 25.
I think you need to start. You need to figure out what we're going to be using the money for, though. First, like,
I guess we can go by our monthly,
sit there.
maybe an average, maybe like 2 months worth of like our average monthly spend to see.
Yeah, that's like I would request rather on XDAI than on main, like my salary, right? And I guess everyone would like to do it. So it's kind of like we kind of already know that most of the payments to the full-time workers or any worker will go through XDAI.
Oh, I thought this is just the second stage.
Yeah, I don't know about like all the core payments that the DAO makes, and then like earning rep for those and all that stuff and getting rep. You're gonna have to do that on mainnet anyway, right? You request your monthly payment plus rep.
Yeah,
I mean the rep is mostly done after the proposal is done, right? So at the end of my engagement with the DXO, and 50% of my payment is in combination with rep. That's true.
So large payments, like I think people were thinking at first, any large payments stay on mainnet, right? It's safer, it's proven, whatever. And you start using XDAI for like smaller bounties, some marketing stuff, and you see if it even works. If it doesn't work, like we don't want to do worker payments on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work, but I would say that just to get it going, I don't think we should go all in immediately and start distributing salaries from there. If there are people who want to, then maybe we should keep them in mind, like when we're transferring funds.
Yeah, we can have the first guinea pig. Geronimo can be the first one guinea pig, and then see how it goes.
Yeah, the thing is, it does work. Like XDAI works, DAOs on XDAI work.
But I understand it works, but like proven history, like people have to use it and be comfortable with it before you start doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with this. Like, I wouldn't want to just toss a shitload of money on it.
Gradual approach makes sense to me, and we also potentially have other ways to scale worker payments on mainnet itself. Right? We could do like a worker guild and just send a chunk of money there, and then with lower cost proposals distribute from there. But yeah, let's see.
Yeah, and to the question of the reputation separation or distribution, like this could be done like on a quarterly basis, basically comparing these and each person will request the difference that they have in each DAO.
I got another question. Do we have the scheme ready for like the DAO to turn ETH into DAI and send DAI across a bridge?
No, so like this process again, like the process of taking money is kind of manual, and I will request a proposal to send whatever 10K worth of ETH to a completely new address, and basically it will be a throwaway address that I or anyone else can basically change that into DAI, transfer everything into XDAI, and then onto the DAO. There's no really trustless way of doing that, like transferring it.
Yeah.
Well, there will be. There should be eventually, right?
Yeah. I mean, eventually for sure.
XDAI hype.
Chris is back. Do we have to get back on task here, or is it? Can we keep?
Yeah, that's the thing. Let me. I have two more things. Quickly.
Wait. Just to summarize. I mean, the things that I wrote down is kind of like to add this as a test DAO. And we are doing rep issuance on XDAI. We'll start with 10K for now, or does Geronimo think that we should increase it to 25? We can, figure that out as well. And yeah, is like everything other than that okay with you guys? Makes sense overall?
I think we should just be very clear about what how rep issuance expectations are, just so that people don't get tangled about it later. And the other thing I might suggest is lowering the DAO bounty for XDAI.
Okay, yeah. All right, so these are kind of like 3 topics to raise in that thread.
Yeah, I think the rep assumes, as you said, just clarity on it.
Yeah, and do we want to discuss how we will transfer funds to the XDAI bridge chain?
So I think the proposal is basically doing it in a trusted fashion, right? So maybe like there's a group of us that set up a multi-sig, and then you send like a, something that's like less than a worker payment basically at a time or something like that, right? Is that the idea, Nylan?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Experimentation.
I don't know if anyone would tarnish their reputation for like real reputation for, I don't know, 10K USD.
I mean, it's pretty safe, I think, if it's like, on the order of a worker proposal, right? Like, then I'd have to be an idiot to like screw everything up.
Yeah.
To make a couple of grand.
Using a multi-sig, like a few person multi-sig,
yeah,
is probably appropriate.
Yeah.
Famous last words. The ease of the multi-sig now. All right, I'm going to steal the screen for just a minute. I don't want to talk too much about this, but I think we need to start thinking about what this DXD guild could potentially look like. I know we've been working on this on the technical front, but there's a lot of kind of logistics and decisions that would need to be made by the community. Kind of just to lay out a couple rep logistics. The guild has a set amount of rep. Is that kind of increasing or decreasing? Obviously, the big question, how much? 3, is the DXD vote split represented in the rep vote? So for instance, if like 60% of DXD voters vote for something and 40% vote against, is that the same makeup that would be in the rep tally, or would that be like 100% DXD, 100% yes, because that was the side that actually won the DXD guild vote. Kind of fourth, quorum. Is there like a minimum amount of DXD that needs to participate in this? Or does the participation rate of DXD holders in the vote affect the rep balance, right? And then obviously things like portal for this. So I don't think we have questions, like obviously no really answers to any of these, but I think like they're, as it moves away from the kind of theoretical and there's some technical implementation of this, I think this is what the Block Rocket guys have been working on. We're going to have to start trying to address some of these thornier questions.
Yeah, about the rep that the DXZ can have, controlled by the DXDAO DAO, by the DAO itself. So that can be changed. Ideally, we will start with a low amount of rep, just to start experimenting how the guild will work. Talking about how the vote from the guild will be sent to the DXDAO, it can be a representative amount of, for example, if the majority of the guild vote for yes or no, we can send how much of that majority representing how much of that majority vote for a positive or negative decision. Let's say that 75% of the guild vote for yes on a specific proposal, and the guild has 100 rep. It can vote on DAO 75 rep for yes. That's something that can be done. We cannot vote in. I think, correct me, Nylon, here, but I think we cannot issue two votes or one of each. For example, we cannot say 75 on yes and 25 on no. We can only vote once on the DAO level. But again, we can just take the majority and how much of that majority vote for a specific decision and signal that decision on the DXDAO.
Yeah, to your question, I'm not entirely sure. This is like an interesting question. But yeah, I mean, like what you propose makes sense. So
yeah. So, but yeah, that is basically how that would work. We will create the guild. The guild will be attached to the DXC token. You will need to lock tokens in order to vote. And if you have tokens locked at the moment of when the proposal was created, you are eligible to vote. So the percentage that we are going to take in count for that of the DXT guild is, for example, if only 1,000 tokens are locked on DXT guild, and that's enough in the configuration of the guild to start creating proposals. If 600 locked tokens vote for yes, that means that 60% of the votes of that proposal will be able to issue a 60% vote of approval for the DXgov.
Cool. Yeah, it should be exciting, and I'm kind of interested to see how we kind of move forward. And I wasn't sure. The guys from Delphi, I think Anil and Dio, maybe on the call. They were.
Hey guys.
I know that.
Yeah.
But I just saw you like texted something, and I wasn't. Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, we have a call in 2 minutes, but I told them that we'd be a little bit late. But yeah, we basically just published our full 3 proposals on DAO Talk. I think when I initially posted it, the link that I shared, unfortunately people had a request for access, so I just posted another link there if you guys wanted to go check that out. We'll definitely be on the call tomorrow to answer questions and actually have more time than these in the next few minutes. But just wanted to flag that for you guys. We'd already shared our governance piece of the proposal earlier this month, and presented that on the governance call. I think there's a good video that Chris actually uploaded that can go through that. But the 2 other changes that we also were proposing were more so focused on the bonding curve, and then 3, and this is kind of relevant to kind of discussions happening right now around the UI, UX, and we basically wanted to see, especially with the 5-point plan kind of passing and us thinking the next steps forward, we thought it'd be good to really take a step back and think before we start commissioning people to build out various UIs for the different projects, to think through potentially like an aggregated DXDAO view.
Yeah, and just to add, this is Medio, just to add to that, Out of the 3 parts of the proposal, I think actually like low key the aggregated UI is probably my favorite part. Because, you know, I think one thing that we've seen in this space right now is aggregators are just becoming like increasingly important. And it only makes sense that you would, you know, kind of aggregate DXDAO's own ecosystem on one page. Could help discoverability between different products, and could also make it easier to kind of sign up, become a member, engage with that discussion as well. So really creating like a one-stop shop portal for DXDAO could be really beneficial. And even I know the other day, you guys kind of like released a sneak peek of the Rails UI. You know, the first thought I had when I saw that was, wow, this would be a great component on just like a DXDAO portal, because, you know, you come there to, you know, place a bet on Omen, you stay to send a payment on Rails, and then, you know, right on that page as well, you can become a member of the community, get engaged in governance and discussions there. So, you know, really just pulling it all together could probably be one of the I think most impactful things we could do near term to really get the ball rolling. But, you know, we just posted it, so please take your time and read through it. And, you know, like Neil said, we'll be happy to answer any questions on tomorrow's call.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense to have some time carved out for tomorrow's call, so we can coordinate exactly when if you guys are constrained. But yeah, I think it's a lot of people in the community be interested in it, and this gives people a day to kind of digest it, and we can kind of try to at least recap it tomorrow and have you guys present a little bit.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that sounds good, guys. We actually have to jump right now, and for tomorrow's call, we actually have our calendars are honestly a mess always. We have a call at 11:30 too, so we'd hope it'd be okay if we could, you know, kind of take up some of the first portion of the call tomorrow. But if not, totally understand, and you know, we can join maybe Monday's call as well. But yeah, looking forward to hearing your thoughts, and yeah, the links are on the DAO Talk forum, and I think MJ is actually going to upload the model in the next 30-40 minutes.
Yep.
Nice.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Talk soon, guys.
Awesome. And I think we have the recording will probably soon cut out as we come up on the hour. Any last comments, thoughts, things to flag?
One quick thing. I think about a lot of like DeFi app websites that immediately like ask to connect to your MetaMask, and I don't know if that would be like too aggressive for like the DXDAO homepage. And I guess you can't like connect it to multiple of DXDAO's applications, right? Because if there's no way to do that, then you can't be onboarded.
It might be personal, but I do think asking for my MetaMask is like maybe like a second date thing.
Yeah, but so MetaMask with their recent update, like they prevent that basically, because it's they don't, websites don't know you have MetaMask unless you tell MetaMask to make the reveal to that website. So that issue has gone away because MetaMask is protected.
Yeah, because I just remember the whole Forbes thing. It was like 6 or 9 months ago. I just like went to some random article on Forbes, and suddenly like my MetaMask thing popped up, and like they hadn't even come out with the program. They didn't even announce the program that I think they were doing with like the unlocked protocol, and it was just like, why are you trying to access my MetaMask Forbes?
Wow, I didn't know that. Does that still exist?
No, it was definitely like, not a year ago, but it was a while ago.
Yeah, I would.
No, go ahead.
I would say that I recently, like, I've been showcasing like just Ethereum stuff to non-crypto people, and they're like, why do I have to click there? Like, what? It doesn't make sense for me to connect my wallet. Why wouldn't I just connect to my wallet? And you know, obviously the whole transaction thing. Okay, now click here, submit, and then like, okay, what is this thing that popped up? Like, why do I need to press? Like, this doesn't make sense. So, I mean, we're on the privacy or security side, but it's completely backwards from the UX side, especially for people who are new to Ethereum. So just something to have in mind.
Yeah, I think we should talk about all this stuff like at maybe the next dev or some product call, because I think you can get kind of in depth here on what the product direction is, or even just excuse me, if we're talking about like a dashboard, we maybe need to step back and just do some strategy brainstorming and think about where we're going in general.
Nylon, when we have Omen on XI with Ethereum ID and password login, and it's super easy, and you give them some money, then we're gonna see if your friends who don't know crypto can make a bet. I think they'll be able to.
Yes,
I've been make a bet on that.
Yeah.
Let's bet on a bet.
Yeah.
Whether they will make a bet.
Well, one thing I wanted to add is I think, and especially this Delphi report, I think kind of highlights the need to start moving on it, is the 5-point plan has been passed, and I think we need to start acting on it now.
Working groups for this as well.
Yes.
For each of those things, basically, yeah.
Yeah. Completely agree. Cool. All right. Well, let's leave it there.
All right. Bye-bye.
Till the next time. See you guys.
Later.